So who doesn't like to sit down from time to time and watch a good TV show or movie? Question is, how much of an impact does that media have on the rest of your life? How many opinions have you unknowingly formed based on what you've been watching? I spoke with author Walt Hickey about how much of our lives is dictated by what we see on the screen. Something, when I saw the title, it's something that I've thought about myself over the years. And so I want to start with this. Why, when I saw Rocky when I was a kid, did I want to come out and do nothing but box?
Exactly. We've all felt this. We've all felt this so many times. Like, we have felt this after seeing Jurassic Park and being like, I'm going to go to the desert and be a paleontologist now.
Right.
Like, every time that you see something, it basically gives you an opportunity to look in through someone else's eyes and see someone else's life. And the way that movies work is that it gives you a sense of empathy for an experience that you yourself don't have. And what the book really tries to catalog is what the reverberations of that are.
So you go from Pokemon to Top Gun.
Yeah.
So talk to me about both of those.
Certainly. I mean, Pokemon had been a massive global phenomenon, but it didn't start that way. It started as a local Japanese video game. And one thing that happened when it left Japan is that it resonated with populations all around the world. And it resonated for years. You had people who grew up on this thing, who played it from the ages of 8 to 18, and now are age 30 and looking at vacations to Japan, right? So Japan right now is cashing a check that it started writing in the late 90s.
Tourism.
Exactly. Tourism was a phenomenal boost as a result of things like Pokemon.
Pikachu, use Thunderbolt!
You mentioned Top Gun. Again, Top Gun is just such a phenomenal example of, for most of the 20th century, the military and Hollywood had a bit of an uneasy relationship. What happens with Top Gun is that Top Gun is one of the first times that Hollywood goes to the Pentagon and pitches them, listen, you guys sure have a lot of aircraft carriers, don't you? And wouldn't it be nice to feature some of that in a film? And it's a very collaborative effort from day one. And as a result, the film that comes out is glamorous in the Navy. People want to become fighter pilots afterwards. And as a result, it causes a very significant increase, not just in interest in the military from that, but interest from the military in working with Hollywood moving forward.
Talk to me, Goose. Roger, I got him. Contact 20 left at 30 miles, 900 knots closure.
I don't know if it's just me. It's probably not me. It's probably everybody. That's what your book's about. But outside of wanting to be Rocky, I wanted to be Maverick.
Yeah.
Like I came out of that movie and thought about nothing but flying a jet for I don't even know how long. What kind of responsibility then does media, movies, TV shows have when you can prove they are this powerful and influential?
I think the thing that I really want to get across in the book is that this is not frivolous. The time that you spend watching TV, that you spend watching movies, isn't just time that you waste. It's not rotting your brain. It is time that you are mentally engaged in a thing that has the potential to change you.
You seem super curious about a lot of things. Was there something that you came across in doing your research that either surprised you or literally just blew your mind?
Yeah. The study that I always talk about when folks ask me this is that I think the relationship between violence and violent films and real-world violence is complicated, and it's not as simple as people think. Because, you know, we know that if in a laboratory you show people violent images, they'll get agitated. This is just how animals work, right? That doesn't really hold up in the real world. What we find consistently is that by showing movies that potentially have violent content, the simple fact that they attract people to go see them, and the fact that people are, rather than hanging out in a bar or hanging out in a place where they can get into trouble, they're in a quiet, safe movie theater munching on popcorn, that actually has a diversionary effect when it comes to the real world, right? My favorite thing that I talk about is that I love heist movies. I really, really like heist movies. They're my favorite kind of movies. But I've never robbed a bank in my life, nor do I intend to. And, you know, the thing about heist movies, though, is that, you know, they might mediate some scenes with violence. That's what action movies do a lot of the time.
Right.
But they're never really about that. What they're really about is how a society is structured and who has the money and who ought to have the money and the means by which that is righted.
I'm wondering about representation, what that is, where we are now, obviously in a much better place than we were, say, 2 decades ago. But how does that play out in the statistics that you have?
I basically linked up with this research organization out of California called the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative. And they do one of the coolest studies in all of academia about media, which is that they count every speaking character in the top 100 films of every year. And they have done this for about 15 years. And you're right, things have improved. But I do want to point out that it's still roughly, I believe, about 3 in 10 speaking characters were women as of a few years ago, and now I believe at best it's up to 4 in 10, which is still a pretty significant disparity. That's a 20-point disparity compared to the amount of men. So there's been some significant improvement. The most exciting stuff, if you ask me, has been the improvement behind the camera. Typically, you'll find that films that have female producers, you have female directors, you have people of color who are able to direct, people of color who are casting. So, you know, the representation element's huge just because, again, like, you know, archery had traditionally been a sport for folks who were bow hunting, predominantly young men.
Right.
And the fact that Katniss Everdeen could turn that around in the short amount of time that she did really speaks to just the strength and the interest in putting characters that resemble wide backgrounds in films. So, you know, you asked earlier about how I think people should potentially care about this when they're doing the movie. Like, you know, put a little bit more thought into when you cast the president. Put a little bit more thought into it when you cast who people who have power in this film are. And be a little bit more cognizant of just the idea that, you know, the Scully effect from the 90s, where you saw STEM interest among women significantly increase after the X-Files come out, that was one of the first studies that really kind of got us going about this stuff.
And really the key thing that I'm getting from you, and I don't know if it's the key thing you want people to take away from the book, is you're playing with dynamite.
Yeah.
Like, you have real power in what you're showing people through media.
Not only that, you know, the book is titled You Are What You Watch because it wants to give people a reminder that, you know, this is not just frivolous. And what I really want to argue is that there's some power in this.
There's science to it.
Exactly. There's a significant amount of science. It's not only a visual experience, it's not only an audio experience. I have an entire chapter in the book all about how it affects your physiology, like what goes on in your bloodstream when you watch a horror movie, and what goes on in your nervous system when you watch a really engaging film. And so, you know, these are full body works. They don't just affect what you see, right? And so I just think that having a little bit more respect for the medium and kind of recognizing that you are watching something rather powerful is what I want people to take away from the book.
Fascinating conversation. Our thanks to Walt for that. And you can buy You Are What You Watch, How Movies and TV Affect Everything, wherever books are sold.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.